Hi, everyone. So, special guest, it's been over a year since we did a video game talk
2 years.
to 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Over a year in chronological time, over 2 years in integer time.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to do a video game talk today. That's the topic. And in the past, we've done four of them. So, the first one we did was either subjective or object. I think it was subject. I think objective was the first list, where we each gave our top 20 video games of all time and tried to be as objective as possible, and we didn't know each other's lists. And then we did subjective, my favorites and your favorites, and we, again, didn't know, we could guess each other's lists. I think we did. And then we did Desert Island.
And then we did one where we don't want to say because it might get canceled again. So
That was the Desert Island one.
Okay.
Yeah. The replacement word for Desert Island, like flags videos. And then our last one we did, so today you're wearing a Link to the Past shirt because you've recently beaten A Link to the Past, which is one of my favorite games of all time.
Really good game.
And last time you were wearing a Zelda 1 shirt because you had just recently beaten Zelda 1.
Also,
Really good game, which is what I'm wearing, which is a Christmas present from Marie's sister. And so I'm dressed in Christmas.
Very nice.
But today the topic is a little bit different because we're going to do kind of like the last one where it was games, the like fourth one we did was games that don't exist that we wish did exist. Like, I wish these games would be made. I would definitely play them if they were made. They just don't happen to exist. And today we're going to do games we've never played or we want to play again. Games that we would like to play that do exist. And it's like New Year's. So this is like a resolution gaming. Like people call it like their backlog. What's on the backlog? What do you want to play? This is resolution gaming for us. So that's the topic for
So
today.
should we begin?
Yeah, but first, can we show them?
Oh,
I'll scan this and I'll like run it through. And we can talk. We can look at it too. So I can like show it on the screen. But
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, it's a list of video games that we've played and beat together as a couple, and started back in 2020 with Dragon Quest.
Dragon Quest.
And the
So
latest
that was
one,
like before we were a married couple.
yes.
We started playing games together.
And then we have like an entire list. So it goes 2020, 21, 22, every year. And then the latest.
By the time it gets to 2023, we are dating them on the actual. Like the first game of 2023 was Castlevania 2, and that was in January 25th.
Yes. And then the latest game that we beat together is Zelda Echoes of Wisdom.
Which you beat and I sat and
Yeah,
watched.
such a good game. I loved it. I went to lab in December and I was like, I can't wait to get back to this game. Like I would wake up
We were texting
thinking,
each other about it.
I would wake up and be like, man, I really am thinking about that Echoes of Wisdom game. It's just so cute and a really good game.
Yeah, and then the one you played before that was A Link to the Past. And so that was the one immediately before it was A Link to. And then Echoes of Wisdom feels like that. I think the map is a little bit different, but it's close.
Yeah.
To A Link to the Past.
I loved it.
One. And then before that, it was like it took forever to beat Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, we beat it in May, at the end of May, and it came out way before that. So a lot of gaming was just sort of purged before that. And then there's a Super Ghouls and Ghosts Day. So there was this one day in October. It was like close to Halloween of 2023, and I thought I had grabbed decaf coffee. The Bulletproof that's our brand of coffee that we drank, and decaf is green. And like, what is that like? The one that's like super mighty, whatever.
Mentalist or
A
something.
Mentalist is something that's like a dark coffee.
Okay.
But there's some, and it's like teal colored. But if it's like 4:42 a.m., everything that's teal is also green. And so I grab that one. It's like the strong one and whatever. And I just make this massive pot of like super to the top coffee. But I drink decaf. And then
he's super sensitive to begin with.
which I can't drink calf. I'm so sensitive I can't drink it. And I drank a full pot of coffee, and then I was like halfway through a second pot, and then I'm like having panic attacks, and I don't know what's going on. And then I'm like, oh, I think I know what happened. And I went to the kitchen to see if Marie's coffee, which she drinks the really strong stuff, and my coffee, and they were both the same thing. And they were both that, whatever it is, like the super strong one. And so, I mean, luckily in the house, we have charcoal, we have theanine. I mean, we have everything that we needed. What would they do at the hospital? If I went to the hospital, what would they do? Just give me charcoal and maybe theanine.
Yeah.
And so I just took tons of each of those. I'm like, okay, the charcoal's going to absorb some of the caffeine right before it goes into circulation. The theanine's going to get rid of the jitters. I'm sure the charcoal is counteracting that, but there's enough of each to get through.
It wasn't funny at the time. I'm laughing now because he's fine, but
I needed something for my attention.
I was actually pretty scared. I was like, should I drive you to the hospital?
It was like
what
that.
should we do?
And but like, again, like, what are they going to do in the hospital? And so I was lying down, just trying to be like zenful and meditate.
Yeah.
And then I got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm focusing on my symptoms. I need a distraction. And so I came out here and I played Super Ghouls and Ghosts to completion. And so I hadn't played that since I was a little kid. So I just put it on the Switch. And start to finish, I did that game. And by the end of the game, I had had enough of a respite from focusing on my symptoms. I'm like, okay, I know I'm okay and I don't need to go to the hospital. So that game, I didn't even know what day it was. It was close to Halloween. I just wrote it when I beat it.
It's
like,
a
I
core
don't know,
memory. Super Ghouls and Ghosts.
Super Ghouls and Ghosts. But yeah, so every one of those games on there is a memory, though. Now, we have some props before we begin of games that we actually have that we haven't played through. Or we've started playing through, but we haven't finished. And so the first one, a friend of mine, Jacob, got me this, and I've been playing through. I started playing through the Gotham City one, Arkham City, and I got a little bit of the way in, and I think Tears of the Kingdom came out or something. There was some interruption, and I haven't returned to it, so I do want to return to that one someday. But also in the meantime, wow, like, you know what? I can't get through a whole new game. I'm just gonna put up like a couple. So I did beat Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine. Those are both on the list. But Mario Galaxy, I haven't done yet. But I started playing through those. This one, Link's Awakening.
Oh, yeah, want to play that.
We want to play this one. I didn't put it on my list, but it's sealed. Like, I haven't even opened it. But
I want to play this one.
So that one,
I think this one will be.
That wouldn't be on
play.
Your list.
Yeah.
It
is on my list, actually.
Might, okay. So we each have about 20 games on our list, and we don't know each other's lists. And so we'll go through them. And so this one, we'll put this aside.
Put it on my area.
On your half.
Yeah,
we did start playing this one. Was it last night or 2 nights ago?
That is a lot of fun. It was 2 nights ago.
2 nights ago. So we just started playing this. I got it for my brother for Christmas also.
Very addicting.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Just to go get like the S's and everything. We haven't done any of the actual competitions, like worldwide competitions or whatever.
What it is.
Okay, so the World Championships, it came out for the Switch. This is like the version that has all the other stuff in it too. But there's like 15 or 18 games or something like that, 13 games. It's like Zelda 1, Zelda 2, Mario 1, 2, and 3, Kid Icarus,
and
Excite Bike, and the Japanese Mario, the original Mario 2, Lost Levels in the US eventually came out. Yes, super hard. But we went through all of those ones and got.
He did that one. It was too hard.
At least A+, usually A++ or S in those. So we mostly S's. Balloon Fight, that one was a little bit more boring. We haven't done Kid Icarus yet, and I do love that game. It's so much fun though, because it's just little speed runs, and my hunch is it's going to inspire a new generation of speedrunners. That like Summoning Salt is the guy. For those who don't know, he's like my favorite speedrunner because he does Mike Tyson's Punch Out. He's the world record holder for that. But he also makes these great videos that dissect the speedrunning for everything. And so I think there will be a whole new generation of speedrunners there.
Tomb Raider. So this is 1, 2, and 3. Number 4 is actually my favorite, but it's not on here. But this is Tomb Raider.
I would have gotten you that one.
1, 2, and 3 remastered, and this was a Christmas gift, and I'm gonna play it when school starts. So it'll be my wind down video game, because when school's in season, it's really hard for me to like have any other brain activity other than schoolwork, but this shouldn't require too much, so I'm excited.
Overwatch is like a wind up activity, and so is the NES championship thing. It sort of like winds me up. Like I can't do that before bed. I tried to do it before bed a couple nights ago, and I'm like, okay, I can't sleep now.
So Tomb Raider, I'm gonna play that starting soon, actually, probably next week.
So that we'll wind down together with that one. This one's new. We haven't opened it yet, but we buy games when they're on sale, And so this was like, I had this thing for a long time. It was never opened. Same with the Zelda. Link's Awakening. I think I have the Game Boy. I think I have Grant's Game Boy cartridge. Grant, if you're watching this and you don't know where your original Game Boy cartridge for Link's Awakening is, I think it's in the house. It'd be in a box somewhere. But this one, so like when stuff goes on sale, and like at some point we're gonna get it. We do this with coffee You know, we buy 50 bags of coffee at a time.
Supplements.
We do it with supplements. I'll put up pictures if I edit this. I'll throw in some pictures where I show like supplements or coffee shelves or something. Where we're gonna buy it anyway, but it's like Black Friday sales. And so I'll buy a bunch of games knowing we're not gonna play it anytime soon. But like we'll pay for it eventually, and it'll be more expensive then. So we might as well just get it now. This is one of them. Super Mario U Deluxe. Never played it before, but here's another one that has never been opened. Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury. Everyone seemed to love Bowser's Fury. So we'll play this at some point, but it's not on my list. And
Not on mine.
yeah, so these games aren't actually on our list, but these are the honorable mentions because we own them. And so at some point, now this one actually I should have put on my list. Super Mario RPG. Again, it's sealed, hasn't been opened yet.
Oh, you played that one already.
When I was a
right?
kid,
Yeah.
my brother and I played through this on Super Nintendo. I mean, so back in the 90s, I mean, this,
Very cute.
yeah, it's, if you can see it's adorable, and the whole game is just adorable. And so it's the remake, and it seems like they did a really good job with the remake. So this is honorable mention, like number one-ish. This, we started playing. Oh, you can't see that. Dragon Quest
yeah.
3. We just
Beautiful.
Oh, it's so beautiful. But this is my brother will do another in the future. My brother and I will do a Dragon Quest video together because he's come on a couple of times. We've had conversations about video games, and he and I are the Dragon Quest players since number one. I mean, since number one came out, he and I have been playing the Dragon Quest together, and so I couldn't begin until we saw them for Christmas. And this is our, like, we just like buy our own, but that's like our exchange, you know, we like pretended. And then the last one that we have that is unopened is Ni no Kuni 2. I don't know, that light.
I'll do it.
Okay, Ni no Kuni 2. And Ni no Kuni 1 was beautiful, right? Studio Ghibli. I mean, it's just this, like,
And the music's really
oh,
good.
the music is so. We listened to the music. Our end of the year Spotify music playlist came in. It was all video game. Yeah, it's like for Mega Man 2 was number one.
Yeah.
And that surprised me because I don't deliberately listen to Mega Man, but Mega Man 2 apparently had the number one song. But yeah, and the Baldo is another game that looks just like the Ni no Kunis. It's not actually Studio Ghibli, but it resembles Studio Ghibli in style. And so I could technically add Baldo to it. Baldo's not on the list, but I could put that one on there with Ni no Kuni too. And then there's some other games. So when Marie goes away to her labs, you know, she's wrapping up PT school, the Tufts DPT program. And she goes away for her labs, and often, in addition to our, like, this thing, right? Our list of games that we've gone through, those are together. Those are our together games. When you go away, like I've gone through Pilot Wings. I went through River City Ransom. We played that together some.
It's fun.
Yeah.
And they're remaking it, right?
Oh, they are.
A new one.
Yeah,
We saw
I
it
think
on
they
the
made a new one
The
with
Video
like.
Game Awards.
Was,
I think
there's
it's
Ninja
coming
Gaiden. Maybe it was last year's Video Game Awards that they showed it,
One
where it was like the lady version.
I don't know.
Yeah. And so maybe we'll play through that one. But when you were gone, I went through and beat that one. And then RC Pro-Am is like, you were here when I was playing that a little bit. It's a little tracky. It's an original Nintendo game. You can do it on Switch. But there's no ending to it. So it's not like I beat it, you know, because there's no ending. It just becomes impossible. After level 31 or somewhere around there, it just like, you can't keep going because the cars move way too fast. I'm sure there's a way to like cheat the system and beat it in the way that people do that with Tetris on the kill screen of Tetris. Like level 29, you can't beat. People can go indefinitely, whatever. And then pro wrestling was also on my list. But we have one more prop.
Pro wrestling.
We have one more prop, which is like Marie was away when I was playing those things. That was just, I'll play old school things for nostalgia's sake. Because if you're home, we can just do together things. If you're not home, I need to conjure old Courtney to hang out with. Okay, so Marie's birthday is right around the corner. There's more, we haven't put our Christmas tree is still up. And so you have 4 more gifts under the tree. But you can take these out. We'll open them at the end. We'll open these at the end, but you can show them now because what does it say on each one?
Oh, let's see. Probably not on your list.
Okay, so probably not on your list. That's one game. And we know obviously that these are going to be games.
Definitely on your list. Ooh. Huh. I wonder which
So
one
these
it
are my
is.
guesses. I don't know what her list is. I'm
Okay.
guessing probably not. I'm guessing definitely.
Probably on, and you can tell these are Switch games, so it's a Switch video game. This one is not a Switch game. This is a PlayStation game for sure. Look at the size. maybe on your list.
And so at the very end, we're going to open those three. But she's going to open. I'm not going to.
I'm excited. I want to.
So those are
now.
3 early birthday presents. We'll set those right here, and when we're all done,
I'm
you can
curious
open
if
them.
they're on my list. So
Okay, so
can we do the list?
let's do the list. Do you want to go first? I have 19
I
on
have
my list.
20.
So if you go first and last.
Okay. Should I just go?
Just
through it?
we
Okay.
each have we have like I have a piece of paper over here,
I have
and she has her.
my notebook.
Yeah. Usually I spend like weeks on these coming up with my lists, my ranking systems and whatever. This I didn't spend as much time because they're just games that we want to play, and I kind of know the games I want to play.
I have a guess on what the definitely on my list video game is. I'm gonna guess now. I'm gonna guess as Animal Crossing, but don't say anything.
We'll find out.
Yeah, so that's on my list.
You're
so.
wrong! No, we'll find out. We'll find out at the end.
Okay, so I have, and this is not in order, it's just random. So, The Shire. That's coming out this year, I guess, right? It was supposed to have
It's
come
not like
out
March or something.
in December.
Yeah, because I was trying to get it for either Christmas or your birthday because it was supposed to be out.
Yeah.
My understanding is it was supposed to be out. I wasn't following it like I follow Dragon Quest 12 or something, where I'm like, why are these?
Yeah. I'm the one following. I'm like, ooh, it's like The Sims, but you're a hobbit and you live in the Shire, and yeah, so that's on my list.
There's a game I think similar to it called like Fantasy Life or something like that. Happy Console Gamer, his wife loved it, and you and she like really similar games. So if like she's really into a game, those are the kinds of games that you get into.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of like The Shire, but it's not on our list because we're just going to do The Shire
And
instead.
I have no idea that it existed. So
Yeah.
Okay, so then I have Animal Crossing, which I already talked
Oh,
about.
but let's not do your whole list. Let's go back and forth.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So that's 2, The Shire and Animal Crossing.
So I'll do 2 also. Number 1 though, I've been playing Earthbound. Like that old like a Super Nintendo RPG that
Really
came in like a
cute
huge
game.
so cute, it's so adorable, it's great storytelling. I mean, it's just a wonderful game. And then I got really close to the end and a lot of hours into it. And then other stuff started coming out and I put it aside. And so now when I come back to it, at least, you know, when you play through the game, that little photographer flies down from the sky and takes a picture of you. I'm guessing at the very end of the game in the credits, it shows all of those pictures. That's my guess.
Oh, okay.
You know those scenes where the photographer, you like you just finished a plot point or something, then the photographer comes down and takes a picture of you.
I don't recall, but
Okay,
I believe you.
it's going to make the credits that much better because I'll have forgotten things because it's been so long since I last played it. But there's another one that I think would be interesting that's in this same, I'm doing the same thing where in some slots I have multiple games. I've done this every time. But Mother, which was, it's called Earthbound Beginnings. It's the original Nintendo, first version of that. But my number 2 on my list, again, these no order here. It's not like the last one is the best or whatever. There are other games I play when you're away, and they're like Castlevania games. But I'll play through like the ones you don't want to see, like the Game Boy games, things like that. But there's one in particular, Castlevania game that I've always wanted to play. It's TurboGrafx, and I think they put it out for the Wii, for the Nintendo Wii. It does exist for the PS4. In some limited print run or something. I'm waiting for it to come out on Switch or whatever comes after the Switch, and that's Rondo of Blood. I think it's probably going to be my second favorite of all time Castlevania game because there's like the Castlevania 2, the Simon's Quest cities, or at least one of them is in it. I've seen these screenshots, these sort of gameplay, and they're in the Castlevania 2 cities and stuff. And it has to be so amazing. And I've never played it. Symphony of the Night, I've also just watched people play. PlayStation 1, I've never actually gone through that one. So that's my number 2, is those 2 Castlevania games.
And I would want to watch you play
With both those. And I would probably add in that I would want to watch you play Castlevania 64. I would want to add that one in.
Yes, because that, I just have a core memory of being little and playing that game, and I loved it. But you said it's not like one of the...
Everyone hates it, but everyone hates Castlevania 2, and that's my favorite one by so much.
Yeah.
I mean, Castlevania 2, and then Castlevania 1, and then the rest of them are just kind of like a tie. Super Castlevania, the 4th one, number 3, they're all kind of tied. Castlevania 1 is way ahead of those. Castlevania 2 is way ahead of Castlevania 1, and everyone hates Castlevania 2.
Yeah. So the Video Game Awards last year in December, We watched it together virtually.
Yeah, because she was in her labs, both of them. The
Yeah,
one before
it just
and this last
happens
one,
to
we were
be-
just apart.
Yeah, happens to be at that same time I have to go to lab. But they showed a game that's going to be coming out this year, and it's Turok. A new Turok.
Yeah.
Like, we were watching it, and then me and Gorgon go, because we saw the dinosaur come on screen, and we go, Turok!
And I texted
then-
you
yeah,
before they revealed
yeah,
what it was.
Yeah.
I'm like, Turok. And like, I mean, it was 1
Yeah.
second into showing it.
And we were like, I don't know, we want to really play that, but I think so, just because we
I would
have,
watch
like-
you play it,
Yeah,
definitely.
I think it would be fun. So that is on my list.
I hope it's still foggy because the
Yeah.
limitation of the Nintendo 64. But when the 64 came out, I think people who are too young to have for that to where it's like an old console and they didn't see like Super Nintendo and Genesis and whatever, and so when they got to the 64 and it just changed gaming. It was terrifying back. I mean, you play. I would play that. I didn't have it. My friend Scott Bryce had it, but I would borrow it. And you play it at like midnight, and it's dark in the room. And it's so foggy. Like when we're driving back and forth between Oregon and California, and whenever it's foggy, we make Turok jokes about how like the dinosaurs are going to come. None of them are funny, but they're like inside. They're like us jokes that we make when we're home together. So I'm right there with you on Turok. It's not on my list, but it's on. I'm supported on yours.
Are we gonna ping pong this, or do you want to do two at a time?
Let's ping pong.
Okay.
Yeah. Civ 7. Now, in our last one, now Civ 7 isn't out yet, but in our most recent one of these, which is like August 23, and we talked about what games do we want to be made, what games do not exist, and we wish they would be made. I said Civ 7. That was one of them. Now, it hadn't been announced, that no information about it. There was not a word about Civ 7 had ever been spoken back then. And so it wasn't just wishful though, because there's 6 of them and they're successful. So obviously they're gonna continue the franchise. And so I estimated way back then that it would be holiday season 2024. I was thinking like December 2024, and so that's what I said in that video. It's coming out next month. So I missed it. I missed it by like 2 months.
Okay.
My estimation of when it would come out. But Civ 7 is, I think we would enjoy that.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay. Next, I'm gonna do 2 at a time, only because they're both from Blizzard. So World of Warcraft and Diablo. I want to play those. I'm a huge Overwatch fan. Yeah. Mercy Main. I've been playing over break, like nonstop.
It's fun. It is fun to watch. And then I tried to play. So
He tried playing it. I loved it. It was really cute.
yeah, I loved it less.
He's like, oh, I'm just
I don't know the
dying."
buttons. I mean, there's so many buttons. So the last shooter, like I was
Soldier
talented.
76. He played.
Is what I
Yeah.
was using.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, because Overwatch 2 is free to play, and then I think they make all of their money. We recently went through that book, Play Nice. It's the history of Blizzard.
yeah.
Really good book.
It is really good.
And if you're just starting that book, give it a few chapters.
Yeah. If
'Cause
you're a Blizzard fan, definitely you
but
want to play it.
I'm not like a Blizzard
That's true,
loyalist,
yeah.
and yet, I was like riveted by that book. It was really good. As this, here's what happens to gaming. Ooh, like especially when you bring in like a Procter and Gamble CEO who doesn't understand gaming culture and how you can ruin things when people are like, oh, it's just a product. You're like, no, there's culture here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what Denzel Washington said. I don't remember what movie about. There's like, could a white director direct this? It's like, well, sure, but there's a culture that's required here. It's the same thing for video games. There's a culture, and if you bring in someone from Procter and Gamble, you're gonna crash the company. I don't care what. Like, do you run into the bushes? Do you like skid into a lamppost? You're going to crash the company somehow. It's hard to predict how, but you don't understand the culture. Culture is so important.
For video games
For video
especially.
games, but to have someone at the helm, it's so important in so many domains of life. This isn't meant to be a political statement. It's just culture is valuable in every industry, and video games is certainly one of them. So I played the original Warcraft, not World of, but the first Warcraft when, oh man, I mean, I was a kid and I loved that game. I mean, it was
Yeah.
like that and Command and Conquer Red Alert.
Yeah.
Those two
Fun.
I played a lot of. Warcraft I actually liked better because it's fantasy and I'm less into like space age,
Yeah, me too.
whatevering.
Yeah.
Okay, my next one is, we started it together, Donkey Kong Country 3.
Oh yeah.
Dixie's whatever, Conquest or
yeah.
whatever. Because that was on Marie's list
I
of the
think I
best
went
games.
through. Yeah, I went through the first world. We were like, we did it together. I think it was on the Switch, right?
Yeah.
So I beat the first world.
And I just sat there watching, and I love them because I remember when they came out.
and then stopped playing it. So
Something
it is
because
really
like something that you got busy, and I wasn't just gonna pick up the like when she was playing through Zelda 2, The Adventures of Link, because that was like the one Zelda I never played through. I've watched other people play it a ton. I didn't have it, but it was just like it wasn't good.
It's really hard.
It was really hard.
And
it
like,
had beautiful music,
yeah.
and it had moments. It had elements that were great, but it wasn't as Zelda as other Zeldas.
Yeah.
If Zelda can be an adjective too, an adjective and a noun and a verb. You can like Zelda thing,
Yeah,
whatever.
you can
So I ended up finishing that one, but I wasn't going to do the same thing to Dixie Kong Quest. And so we just left that one in the queue. We'll return
So
to
that's on
it.
your list.
So that's on my list. It's because I was enjoying watching you play it. And we didn't finish the Blizzard story. So we hooked up. So we have a Switch and a PlayStation 4, and you've been playing on PlayStation 4, which is better for, I think, like those sorts of games. And we set it up on Switch, so we have like me having an account, and I just, if I'm not immediately good at something, I'm like, I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
Like I'm supposed to be good at things.
He just played one game and kept dying. He's like, you know what?
Yeah, like I don't know where anything is, and I'll approach people on the map like, okay, what buttons do what? There's so many buttons, and like, how do I? And then I'm dead. I'm like, okay, I haven't even decided what button to push.
Yeah.
And so I think once it's second nature, I mean, I'm sure it's the same thing with somebody who's like, oh, I'm a brown belt in karate. Yeah, you're gonna get beat up because you're gonna go up and not remember what move to do, and you're gonna get punched in the face by the drunk person.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. Is like I'd go up and I try to do karate. I'm like, what's the best thing to do? And I button masher just like messes me up.
Yeah.
And so then maybe they were like really talented and whatever. But that sort of frustration took me out of the immediate enjoyment and
Yeah.
put me in like on tilt, as people say. Okay, so that's my number 4.
Okay. I have Baldur's Gate. That's not Blizzard, huh? No.
No,
But
that looks so
it
good.
looks really good, and I
was Game of the
want to
Year
play it 2 years ago. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think we mostly agreed with that, but it was up against Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
And Tears of the Kingdom was amazing, and
But we never played Baldur's Gate.
we never
either,
played Baldur's
so we
Gate,
don't-
and
we're
so that's why we
biased.
mostly agreed with it, because
Yeah.
it really does look good. We just
Yeah.
haven't given it its due.
Yeah.
And if it comes to one of the consoles that we have, I think you probably get it on PS4 already.
Yeah. I think so.
But yeah.
Actually, I think it might just be PSI, but we're gonna get that.
We'll get
system
it. We'll get
eventually.
it. Yeah. Okay. So my next one is. So I mentioned games over here. This right where I played through the first 2. I replayed through the first 2. I mean, I got all 3 of them right when they came out. I pre-ordered all 3 of those games. So Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy. I didn't really like Mario Galaxy that much. I've actually talked about it before. It's the colors. I don't mind. I think Mario Sunshine I thought was great. I don't mind that he's an employee who's pressure washing. Like he has like a seasonal like wage labor job, and that's it's like a sim thing. Like okay, now you pressure wash, and I didn't
enjoyed
mind that.
watching you play
It's a beautiful game, and I think GameCube graphics. I mean, this is just like a direct port. They didn't like enhance anything. GameCube graphics for me is as good as it needs to be. The leap from 64 to GameCube was big, and I don't anything beyond that. I don't really care about the graphics. They can do everything, on GameCube that. To me, they can do everything they can do now. So I'm not really interested in graphics. I'm interested in gameplay. And so the Wii, I thought like gameplay, that's fascinating. I even got my parents a Wii for Christmas one year. But I played the first Mario Galaxy. I haven't replayed it. I haven't replayed Mario Galaxy on this. I just played it when it was new, and I wasn't all that into it. But Mario Galaxy 2 is on my list because
Wait, is that out? Is that a
it came
thing?
out on the Wii. I mean, it came out a long time ago. No, it came out in 2010. Now, I was in Connecticut in 2010. It was like May 2010. I'm in Connecticut. I'm kind of out of gaming at this point because my like gateway into gaming has always been Dragon Quest, and that gate was closing because Dragon Quest X didn't come out in the US, and so the gate ended up closing on me. But Dragon Quest IX came out like a month and a half after Super Mario Galaxy 2, and I did get it and play it. Dragon Quest IX is one of my least favorite because it's only handheld, and like I'm not into Game Boy. If it's Switch, notice how little I play Switch as a handheld. I mean, it's 99% of all gaming happens on the TV because I'm not really into handheld.
Yeah. Except lately, which is really sweet of you, really gentleman-like, that he'll be like, oh no, you can play Overwatch on the big screen, and then he'll get the little handheld and play Dragon Quest on there at the same time. So,
But I have to
thanks.
prop it up and then I use a different controller because the little Joy-Cons, they just do this. And so your guy just goes, I go, gosh. So I have to prop it up and use one of those like other controllers. But it's nice to play next to you.
Even if it's a separate game and like completely different energy.
Completely
I'm
different
like,
energy.
ah, dang it. Like
and
frustrated, and he's all,
I'm slowly
this is
grinding.
nice.
Yeah, because my brother and I, and I'll talk about this at length when my brother and I do one of these, when we talk about our Dragon Quest roots. And the most important game franchise to me, far and away, is Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior especially. And, but this was for Christmas, my brother and I are gonna do it, but he hasn't started yet. And so I'm grinding like 5 hours in, just grinding right around the first castle. I'm at level 11 or something, but I haven't even gone to the second town,
Yeah, so
which you're supposed to do like 10 minutes into the game.
The bosses probably be very easy.
It should be
for you.
easy, but I'm also doing the entire game on Draconian mode. So as I began, I put on Draconian mode.
Which is the hardest.
Which is the hardest.
Yeah.
There's like Draki Quest, which is easy. There's Dragon Quest, which is normal, which is probably what everyone plays on as Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
And there's Draconian Quest, which to me, that's Dragon Quest. That's Dragon Warrior. And people complain about Dragon Warrior 2 being way too hard and so they don't like it. Dragon Warrior 2 I thought was phenomenal in its difficulty. It was perfect. I want them to be that hard. And so the option to put it on Draconian Quest I thought was useful. And so it's going to slow me down. So my brother hasn't started playing, so I don't want to advance the story, so I haven't even gone to the second town yet, but I'm 5 hours in of just grinding on Draconian Quest. So that's a long-winded way of saying Super Mario Galaxy 2 is my number 5.
Okay. I have, well, let me see, what do I have on my list? Red Dead Redemption.
Oh, that's a really highly rated game.
I know, and I want to play it so bad because it looks fun, and I like playing online against other people, and I don't know, it's a game I want to play.
Yeah, I know so little about it other than I had friends who loved, I mean, like one of my most interesting, kind of dearest but we don't talk friends is Andy Michelson. You know, I've talked about him a lot before, where he's weirdly, like he's like Leonardo da Vinci reincarnated in the way his brain works. I've never met somebody who just naturally, I mean, he can memorize dictionaries in other languages. He mastered realism in art in elementary school. Just close your eyes, well, then you have to open them to look at the page, but don't look at anything else. You're in an empty room, and he could do photorealism. And he was a like elementary school kid. He's a savant on every instrument, and he loved Tomb Raider.
It's a good
That
game.
says something about Tomb Raider. And so
Really good.
I'm interested in watching Tomb Raider. So Red Dead Redemption is something that Andy Michelson didn't get his stamp of approval because he and I have never talked about it, but lots of people who I do trust have praised that game. And like when you look at these lists of like the top PlayStation games of all time, it's like that and one of the Metal Gear Solids. Like those are always right at the top.
Good list.
So yeah, I'm right there with you. Now my number 6 is like, there's a couple of these and they're all independent games because a lot of like AAA games, they've just lost originality lately because I think they're terrified. Even if it's going to cost you like $100 million to make your game or whatever, you can't take risks because then you lose $100 million if the game doesn't work. And so independent games, little independent studios, people, whatever, they take risks that other people don't. And there's some side-scrolling, like Metroidvania, you know, like side-scrolling action platformers where you have to go back to where you were and remember where things are and stuff. And so Hollow Knight is one of them that I think would be interesting, and that came to Switch in 2018. Ori and the Will of the Wisps, that was 2020 on Switch.
Never heard of
And
these.
then there's one that I thought was interesting that it's called The Transylvania Adventure of Simon Quest. As in...
It's kind of like the Wanda Gamelon, like where
right, yeah, I know, where it's like just a little...
they're capitalizing
Yeah,
on.
they had the legal rights to do that. With it, like I think there was a little loophole for them. But yeah, there's 3 like horrible Zelda games, like the Panasonic ones. But this is just an independent person, and it's a total knockoff of Castlevania. And obviously Simon's Quest, but that's my favorite Castlevania game. And I've watched some gameplay of it, and it was really good. It looked really good. So my number 6 is just, I'll pick one of them. I don't need to do all 3, but just a new, independent, not big studio, side-scrolling adventure that harkens back to the sort of the golden age of action platformers.
Okay, my next one is Mario Odyssey. I know you've played it, but I haven't.
Keep talking. We'll be right back.
And it's a game that I want to play because it seems to be a very highly rated game, and I love Mario, so on my list.
Yeah, and as it should be, here it is. So, again, I got out of gaming for a while, not with like hard feelings. My feelings were very soft in getting out of gaming, but it's what I said earlier about, Dragon Quest IX came out on a handheld, and so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get this, but I'm sort of out of, this is it. My gateway closed again. But then when Dragon Quest XI came out, I'm like, all right, it's time to get back into gaming. And so the 3 games, I'm gonna do these 3: Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, and Dragon Quest XI. And all 3
good games, yeah.
so good. And this one is amazing. And so I'm excited to watch it, to watch you play it, and sort of to relive. As a welcome back to gaming, what could be better than those 3? Of like, let's kind of cordially welcome you back into this world of gaming. You can't pick a better trio than those 3. Okay, so my next one I would like to do with you. You know how we did like all the Contras and stuff together? This one we would just, I don't know, take turns or we wouldn't be, it's not like a couch co-op, but Adventure Island. Now, the first Adventure Island came out like right around my birthday of 1988. So I think I had just turned 8 like days before this game came out, and I used to draw all the bosses. I mean, I spent so much time drawing those, but that and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, I used to draw all the characters. Adventure Island 2 I played, Adventure Island 3 I never played, and all 3 of those were on the original Nintendo. And no, Adventure Island 1 was basically a port of this game called Wonder Boy, like a Sega thing, and then Adventure Island 2 and 3 were original games. Side-scrolling adventure, Master Higgins skateboards through a jungle. It's hardly realistic. But those were like 3 Hudson Soft games. Hudson Soft, which made the TurboGrafx 16 later, but was also making third-party games. I would like to play through those with you.
Okay.
That's my number.
Like with me or
7.
as I'm watching?
As you're watching, or you play as I'm watching, but it's going to be save states. Those games are hard.
I'll probably watch you play then, because I get frustrated. Okay, next on my list is Kingdom Hearts.
Oh.
I love Disney, and it seems like a really good game. I know it's highly rated. I watched some gameplay when it came out when I was very little.
Me too.
Yeah.
I wasn't as little.
And it looked a lot of fun. I just never played it, and it's on my list because it's something I want to play.
Yeah, I remember watching somebody play a lot of that, and I thought it was really good. It was sort of like a hybrid between like Final Fantasy VII and Disney. It seemed like the baby of those two, and that did look really good, and I enjoyed watching it a long time ago, and it would be nostalgic to watch you play again. Okay, so my number 8 is Bonk. It's a TurboGrafx 16 game. I was talking about Hudson Soft that made the TurboGrafx 16, the PC Engine in Japan, the TurboGrafx 16, which failed over here, but in Japan the PC Engine was really successful. And so they teamed up with NEC, which I think still exists, but Hudson Soft I don't think does. I think they went defunct 12 years ago or something. And I think Konami has the rights to that stuff now. But Bonk's adventure. Bonk was like the Mario of the TurboGrafx, or the Sonic of Sega, but it was and I never played through it. I saw people play. I watched like footage, and I don't know if I watched footage, but in the magazines, and so I was familiar with a ton of it, but I just didn't have the console. And it's the staple of that, and like shooters. Are like overhead and side scrolling shooters and stuff. But for that console, that was the game, and so it would be fun to play through that one too.
I have Stray on my list.
Okay.
Because I love kitties, and it looks like a fun game to play.
Okay. Yeah. So it's like
you walk around as a cat, and it's like a role playing game. I think you have like missions, and I think I'm actually not sure. So.
Okay. The cat game. The kitty cat game.
Yeah.
Okay. So Evo is on mine. The Search for Eden. It was a Super Nintendo game. Never played it. Today it's so expensive. I think it might be on the Switch. I'm not sure. I haven't looked. But you start. So Evo, it's like this. It's like a hybrid between like a role playing, like action platformer, and like Civ 6 or something. Because you begin in the Cambrian explosion, like 500 million years ago. You begin this game, and then you determine your evolutionary
that sounds fun.
adaptations.
Yeah.
And it sounds like for an action platformer that has sort of RPG evolutionary elements, I think would be really fun.
Yeah, I think so too. Because
So that's my number 9.
it's like Civ 6 kind of, or
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like a Sid Meier's
Yeah.
Evo.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Okay, I have on my list Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
I've only watched my sister play it. She's a huge fan, and like I really love the graphics, and like it just looks like a lot of fun. I just never played it, and it's a game that I want to play. If like I ever get paid to play video games, that's when I would play.
Or if there's such a time that comes that human beings lose, this is not unforeseeable, that human beings lose the ability to contribute to society in like an employment way, we'll have time,
Yep.
right, to play. That would be the situation that we had, that we talked about in our year, over a year ago, our the Desert Island one. Yeah. So 2 videos ago, the situation that you would put Assassin's Creed into.
Yeah, because it's not. I wouldn't.
Incarceration, we'll call it.
I wouldn't rank it high on the list, but it is there on the list.
They made that Magic set, Magic the Gathering, the card game set based on Assassin's Creed, and I don't understand any of it because I've never played that game, and so I don't get those cards. And so the Magic cards would make more sense, and if you play through that game, maybe then we would get some of those Magic cards. All right, so next on my list is probably just a terrible game. So my number 10 is Quest 64.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, Brian Graham really liked it, and so he and I are going to have a conversation here. So you'll meet him, but it was encouraging that he liked it because when I was a little kid, I was 16, 17, something like that, when it came out on the Nintendo 64, and it was a lean time for fantasy. And so a Nintendo 64 RPG comes, like a fantasy RPG comes out, and it's 3D world exploration, all that stuff. And so I was so into it when it came out, and then it just disappeared from all the magazines. I mean, there's all this hype leading up to it, and then there came a time where it was just silence. Not one magazine, nobody talked about it, because I think people played it and like, what am I playing here? This is weird and bad. But I've always wanted to experience that weird and bad game, and that Brian Graham, who I trust, liked it. I think I'd be able to appreciate it as a time capsule game, representing a time, and sort of going back to that point in my life and saying, here's the thing that I missed. I probably won't mind that I missed it, but I'll feel like my childhood is more complete that I've played it.
Did you beat it when you were a child?
No, I never played it at all.
Oh, I bet you said
and
you
so
beat it.
this is one of those games where, like, when you listen to Audible and you're like, I got to get through this book. I'm going to do it like double
Yeah,
speed, triple
yeah.
speed. I'm just get me 3 speed, and I'm just going to try to get it because it's not very good. But I got to get through it. I would probably want to do the game like that,
Okay. Just like
where
a speed run?
if it's possible to just can I speed everything up? Can I like go double speed on this and just to get through it to experience it? But yeah, I've never played it. I've never even seen someone play it. All the magazines enticed me.
So apparently I have Mario Odyssey twice on my list.
Okay, well, I only have 19
There,
also.
and I have it there.
Okay, so
no,
this
no,
is
I
like-
have more, so I'm just gonna keep
Okay,
going.
just
down.
do another one, and then we each have 19 total.
Is that 19 already?
No. I've
I
done
see.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have Metroid Remastered on there.
Mm,
Just because I've never played
Yeah.
a Metroid game and I think it'll be fun.
yeah, I was tempted. So
But yeah, we're not like sci-fi fans too much. And like it's outer space, but it looks like a lot of fun.
and Samus is like one of the first female protagonists. And there was a code you could type in the original one. I think it was Justin Bailey. You type that code in, and then you just play as like a normal woman running around instead of the like suit, instead of like the like astronaut suit. But so Metroid 1, loved it. My brother and I talked about that one, played it a ton, beat it. The music is so haunting. It's like, I mean, I play it on Spotify, whatever. I'm surprised Metroid wasn't our top of the year. But Metroid, the Super Nintendo one, Super Metroid, supposed to be this amazing game. I've played it some. I started playing it on the Switch because it came out on the Switch. I haven't gotten through it. It's really good, but I like Metroid Prime Remastered, something like that. I think would be really fun because it's like GameCube at its best, and they've just re-released that one. I would love to play through that with you. Oh no, it's my turn. That was yours. Okay, so mine is number 11. This is another game I missed from Nintendo 64. So I talked about Quest 64 as my number 10. Number 11 is Mischief Makers. Another one that's for me is nothing but magazines. It was like all Nintendo powers were just pumping this game up. And in an age when the Nintendo 64 was all 3D graphics, just sort of bad polygon graphics. Again, the leap from 64 to GameCube was massive in terms of the fidelity, but this was a 2.5D. You know, it was like a 2D action platformer on Nintendo 64. That was just contrary to all the other games that were coming out, and it looked so good. I never played it. I would love to go back to that age. I think it was well received. It's not like Quest 64 where everyone hates it today. I think people still celebrate it today, and so Mischief Makers.
Okay. I have Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So
Is
the
that the
latest one.
Switch?
It's the latest one, yeah.
We do not own that.
I love playing Super Smash Bros. And I think we would have a lot of fun
I
playing
think we
together.
would.
So.
Yeah, because that could be couch. Can it be co-op where we're beating up other people, or is it just
No,
going against each
we would
other?
just battle
Okay.
it out. Yeah, but we could play online,
Okay.
like you know how we do Mario Kart, like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That would be fun. Maybe the next one that comes out, because you
Yeah.
know the next Nintendo console's coming, and you know a franchise that successful is gonna have.
yeah, Super Smash Bros.
Yeah,
again.
so yeah, we'll get that one. So my next one is a specific situation. It's with Grant, and Grant is going to come on here soon, and we'll talk about gaming too, because he and I have very different gaming backgrounds. But Diddy Kong Racing and Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey, those two games from Nintendo 64. That's
Yeah,
what it
that's
says.
funny.
Grant and I used to play those together, and I played Diddy Kong Racing. I mean, to completion, everything. Like, I mean, I was like a speed running on those courses. But Grant and I, those were the two games that he and I probably played the most, maybe together. I mean, WCW versus NWO, wrestling, and GoldenEye. There were other games we played too, but those two would be fun to play with Grant. Just one day of nostalgia.
Yeah. Okay, the next on my list is Super Mario Wonder.
Oh yeah, we don't have that.
And
Yeah.
that looks like it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So it's on my list.
Yeah, so at some point I would love to, because that's a couch co-op, and you can play
Yeah.
online, and you
Yeah.
can play.
Seems like a
Yeah,
lot of fun.
so Mario Wonder, definitely, I'm with you there. So my number 13 is Harvest Moon, yes. Stardew Valley, yes sir.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was gonna put that on my list, but I didn't because I was like, oh, he'll probably have it, and I would just watch him. So.
Yeah. And so it's like for those who don't know, if you don't know somehow, Stardew Valley, some of the best music, but it's one guy. I mean, he brought on some friends and a team to help him and stuff, but one guy did all the right things. He went about it the right way. It's his art. It's his music. He wrote those songs.
Oh,
the guy who like programmed the
okay.
game and came up with the entire game
So he's a
and did all the
talented
art and stuff, did all the music too.
Yeah.
And it took him years, but he did it the right way.
The music is really nice.
Oh, it's so beautiful. It constantly plays in the house. Again, I'm
Yeah.
surprised. It's probably some of those. If you look at our top 10, probably some of those are from Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
At least one of them. And so Stardew Valley before Harvest Moon, but Harvest Moon was like the OG, as people would say, for like Farmville kinds of games before Farmville. That's my number 13.
Okay, next I have Paper Mario, the 1,000-Year Door.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
I wanted to play it because he loves it. He talks so highly about it, and
Yeah.
it looks super cute, and it's a game.
And
I
there's the
wanna play.
remake.
Oh,
So
I
there's a
didn't know
remake on the Switch. Yeah. So there's a brand new remake on the Switch, and the GameCube version of it. Oh, I was like blown away. I mean, I think I was bodybuilding then, and that was one of the games where I would just drink 1,000 Diet Cokes and play, Paper Mario. And so the Paper Mario in 64, GameCube, Paper Mario 1,000-Year Door, that one was better, and that was the last Paper Mario I played. But it's such a good game. It's such a good game. We actually have a factory sealed one in the house because I bought it and I also got it for Christmas. And so the one I got for Christmas just stayed factory sealed because I'm like, I already got it. And I'm like, so really, that one's good. And so my next one, there's a bunch here, but my number 14, I have never played Final Fantasy. I'm a Dragon Quest loyalist, and I had always felt like, Final Fantasy 1 was like, oh, this is a knockoff, of Dragon Quest, 2. And like Dragon Quest 3 came out barely after, immediately after Final Fantasy 1. And Final Fantasy was just behind the curve on Dragon Quest, and it felt derivative, and I was just like, but that's like, it's such a like the series itself is so important to video game culture and history and what we have today. They advanced RPGs. They brought RPGs popularity to the West. It's a really important franchise, and I have just held this grudge against it. But it's time to release the grudge, and so there's 4 of them I do want to play. Final Fantasy 1, the first ever. I don't think I'm gonna like it because I'm the whole time I'm gonna grumble. This is just Dragon Quest. They just ripped them off. But the 2 on Super Nintendo. Now I sort of regretted my decision even back then when those came out. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do something else. I'm gonna do like Breath of Fire. I'm gonna do, because they stopped bringing, Dragon Quest 5 and 6 didn't come to the West, the Super Nintendo ones. And so what am I gonna do on Super Nintendo? Like I don't want to do Final Fantasy. So like I adhered to my grudge, and so I was playing other. Mario RPG came out and stuff, but the 2 on Super Nintendo, which is 2 and 3 here, it's 4 and 6 in Japan, and then number 9, which is a PS1 game, which is the other like medieval one, because I don't like guns and like motorcycles and stuff in a final like that's not Final. And so there's a bunch of Final Fantasies that I wouldn't really care about, and there's a few more games I would be interested as a historical perspective, and that's Ys. I think Grant had one of these, and I played some Ys, but I've never played Xenogears, and I've barely played Phantasy Star. And so I would like to go through those 2 as a RPG, sort of expand my. We have Phantasy Star. I've just barely played it, and so I would like to expand my historical understanding of RPG culture.
Almost done with the list, so I'm just gonna list off the last 2 just because they're the same.
Oh yeah, so I have
franchise.
More. Okay, you only have 2 more. Okay.
So Zelda's Link's Awakening.
Link's Awakening. Yeah, we showed that. It's right over there.
That's on my list, and I want to replay Ocarina.
Yeah, and I really want to watch you replay Ocarina because I pre-ordered that game, and that came out when I was a senior in high school. Ocarina came out. I pre-ordered it. I mean, I got all the like pre-order stuff, and that was the last time I played it.
Yeah.
And so I would love to go through that game with you. Okay, so we'll go through the rest of mine kind of quickly, because you're done with yours?
Yeah.
Okay, so the rest of mine. Chrono Trigger, again, I've gone through and beaten Chrono Trigger, but with you, because it really is, I mean, if some other culture, the music is the best of all time. But if like like aliens were to come to the world, or like AI becomes, can appraise things and be completely objective, and they say, all right, what is the most important and best RPG of all time? It would not surprise me if that alien generation or AI, whatever, chose Chrono Trigger. It's that good. Now, Chrono Cross I actually used to have, but I wasn't a PlayStation guy, and so I sold it before I ever played it. And so I would like to play through Chrono Cross too. Because that music is just as amazing as Chrono Trigger.
And I think music really makes a video game.
It has, if you have bad music, you have
you can't get into it. I know. Yeah.
Like Donkey Kong, the feet, when you're running, like that would just drive you crazy if that were in a. I think Quest 64 actually does that. I heard. But Ultima and Wizardry are on my list. They're from 1981, and this again, my historical perspective of Dragon Quest. So where did Dragon Quest come from in the modern RPG and stuff? Ultima and Wizardry, those really, Dragon Quest is the baby of those 2, of sort of taking elements from each. But those came out in 1981, both of them did. I would love to play the originals. Okay, I can really just lump all of this into one for my last one. Dragon Quest X. Okay, there's supposed to be a version coming out that's like, because it was a MMORPG. And like you play online, and so there wasn't an offline version of it, and it never came to the States. I've never played it. I played Dragon Quest 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11. There is no 10. And so I would love to play Dragon Quest 10. Dragon Quest 12 at some point is coming. Dragon Quest 12. But there's one more thing that I would love to do with you. Now, we're already going to do Dragon Quest 3 together. I'm grinding right now. 5 hours of just grinding at right around the original castle of like slimes. But repeating Dragon Quest 1 through 8. We don't need to do 9, the Game Boy one. It's kind of like but 1 through 8 with you.
Yeah.
I would love, because we did 11 together. We're going to do 3 together. I would love to do the rest of them.
Yeah, I would enjoy
in that
it.
series. Okay, do you want to open your gifts now and see which is,
If any
if any of them were on your list? Yeah.
Were any?
We'll
You know?
see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
do you want me to-
do this one first. This
Okay.
is definitely on your list.
Let's do definitely on the list.
So let's see if he is right.
How accurate my intuition is, my
Uh-huh.
Nostradamal prediction of gaming.
Yes. He's right. Animal Crossing.
Okay, so Animal Crossing is that was the
How
definitely on
fun.
the list.
It was definitely
If
on
you
the
see
list.
I don't know if you can see where it says it. Who cares?
And we can play together.
Oh, can we?
Yeah, there's.
I know like nothing
one
about the
before.
game. I've heard you talk about it in the past.
Because you know I love Sims, and this is kind of like that, I've heard. And I'm excited to play it, and we can play it together.
Yeah, we'll
Thank
play it
you.
together. So that's game number one. That's the definitely.
Okay, this is probably not on your list.
Probably not on the list.
Okay, let's see. The Legend of Zelda. It was not on my list. Skyward Sword.
So that's another remake. I've never played it, but we love Zelda.
We
I mean,
do.
we're both wearing Zelda shirts.
What was
And-
the what did this come
I think it
out
was
on?
Wii.
Okay.
I think it came out on the Wii.
It
And
looks
so they've
cool.
remade it. I think it's a high def,
Yeah.
HD.
Yeah.
And so I think we'll have a good time. And I think you should play that one
I will. Yeah.
after.
definitely.
But this
Yeah.
is in the future, right? These are our, like, a lot of people when they have New Year's resolutions, they're like physical health, financial health.
video
Video
games.
games. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I mean, there's people, I think people who are 5 years older than me or older than that would scoff at what we're doing for our resolution. Your gaming resolutions, are you serious? Like, but it's video gaming. Like, if you look back at the 90s and early 2000s, the literature on it was just people grinding their axe against people who are playing Mario and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
oh, these people are idiots, and they're destroying their attention spans, and they're disassociating from society, and they're like withdrawn into it like that. And then you get into like mid 2000s, 2007 and on, and the literature says something completely different.
And
about
we're
video
gonna
games.
have another episode specifically on
On like a journal club.
Yeah.
Because like, I have a PhD, I'm a tenured professor of physiology and epidemiology, I'm in the natural sciences. Marie has her master's degree, she's wrapping up her doctorate in physical therapy. And we're gonna do a journal club, and we're gonna go through, so we are
On video games.
On video games. And so we are well positioned to dissect the literature, and we will do that.
It's gonna
we'll
be a
show
lot of
the
fun.
studies,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about the limitations of the studies, the limited application of the studies, what the media, when you're gonna get like a media dissection of studies, that's just advertising, that's marketing. Get people to read your studies, see if you can, like drum up some citations, get some fame for your institution. That's it. That's just like, let's get tenure and let's just try to get famous and stuff. But the truth that you see in studies needs dissection. You have to scalpel out the truth.
takes a long time.
It takes a long time. And so we're going to go through the state of evidence of video games and mental health, physical health, things like this. And we've read a ton of studies on this, and it's good for video games. Video games come out on top for kids, for old people, for like surgeons, for everybody. If you play video games, you're better in life.
I agree. And
State
I
of
haven't read
evidence.
any of the literature
You've seen,
yet.
you've seen
but
some of it. I've talked about some of it. But we
I
will-
am an N of 1 though.
What do you mean?
Meaning like I'm a subject. I play video games and I
yeah.
can
Yeah, you can attest
Yep.
to the improvement one experiences in just a ton of mental focus and stuff. So we'll go through that stuff together, and we'll get into the science. We'll talk about the physiology. Like when we were playing at Grant's house, he had the Oculus, and both of us tried out the Oculus, and you had this great dissection of what some of the problems are.
Yeah.
With it, some of the physiological dissection of it, and so we'll get into the science of that. We'll do that one in the future. It'll be our like gaming journal club,
Stay
something
tuned.
like that.
Okay,
Yeah, one gift left.
last one. This is maybe on your list.
I was right for the first two, definitely and probably not. I got those right. My maybe, we'll see.
Stray!
When you were talking about Stray, I was pretending to not know what it is. Because I'm like, oh, this is going to be a giveaway. She's talking about Stray.
Oh my goodness. I
And-
can't, like, look how adorable that is. You get to play as a kitty protagonist. Like, come on. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to play this one.
I got that a while back, and
The entire game, when I'm playing it, I'm just gonna be like, oh.
Yeah, you'll make some of those noises.
Look how cute. Look, it's our kitty.
I'll have my
puppy.
headphones on while I'm playing Dragon Quest 3. And I'm like, what? But so I can hear, so the audio doesn't conflict, so it's not like, what is that one guy's? I am the dragon god,
Yeah,
whatever. Like,
So
So
Genji.
hooray!
So in Overwatch, when somebody does their ultimate, they like scream it in
And like I have my headphones on, listening to Koichi Sugiyama music. I mean, this peaceful, like neo baroque background.
being interrupted by
Genji,
Genji
no Kyore!
saying like the blade of the dragon god.
Yeah,
Take-
like I jump,
Yeah.
when it happens.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you'll be going oh, and I'll all like oh uh huh.
How
So
exciting.
okay, so those are the three. So that's it.
Yeah.
Those are our. We have roughly 20 games each that are our aspirational. Like we aspire to complete. This is our backlog, and our forelog because some of like Civ 7 isn't out yet. They haven't the like Dragon Quest 1 and 2
Or Turok or the
remakes and
Shire,
Turok,
but
the Shire.
it's
These aren't
on
out,
our
so this is
list.
backlog
Yeah.
and forelog. But that's it for us for today. Unless somebody, it's like maybe we can add. I am really curious. Like you know what, you'll have seen what we've played recently in the last few years, the list, and you'll have known what our lists are. If there are games that you think like, oh, this is in line with your style. If you loved these games and you want to play these ones, and this isn't on your list, we would love to hear those. And maybe, let's say there are like 3 slots on each of our lists that could be like a wild card for comments. So somebody created like a good justification for what those games are. All right, what are our departing wishes? Like a New Year's resolution wish?
We hope that you can enjoy video games and get lost in the world just as much as we do.
Yeah, we hope that in the coming year, but that you're not lost in the real world. But if you are, if there's like a dementia situation, you're lost in the real world. There is evidence that video games are helpful for spatial awareness and things like that. And again, we'll talk about that soon. But I hope the new year brings you video game happiness.
Yes, me too.
All right, bye everyone.